Committee. Congressman, thanks for coming back on the show. First question, no-fly zone, yes or no?
No. A no-fly zone is a Washington euphemism for an air war with Russia. And we cannot risk an air war with Russia where you have Vladimir Putin threatening nuclear weapons. I respect that President Biden actually has been wise and sober in trying to de-escalate and not responding to every Putin threat with tit for tat while standing firm for Ukraine.
So I'm with you on that, and I've made it clear on this show that a no-fly zone is an act of war against Russia, and we want to avoid that. Having said that, I'm not sure if you heard any of the previous interview I just did with Oksana Shevel, who made the point that we could see the murder, the massacre of hundreds of thousands of people on European soil in front of our eyes on camera. At what point does it become politically, if not morally, unsustainable for NATO countries to say, nope, we're still not militarily intervening?
Well, it's a horrific picture that she painted, but we are doing a number of things. We are providing military aid to the Ukrainian people. I'm open to providing more military aid, and many progressives have been open to doing that. The president is putting crippling sanctions on Putin that is going to have an effect, that already is having an effect. And then, frankly, we can't give up on some form of diplomacy. Even President Zelensky is calling for that. We have to think creatively at the same time of off-ramps for Putin as we ramp up the pressure. We need to get India and China to condemn Putin, because right now it's NATO and the United States.
Yeah.
Let's get more of the world to do that. And then let's put pressure and have some ceasefire. I mean, that's, to me, the best shot of saving Ukrainian lives.
India and China, of course, abstained today at the United Nations in that vote at the General Assembly. Congressman, I want to pivot to domestic politics as well. That was a big feature of the President's State of the Union address last night after he spoke about Ukraine. What stood out to you on the domestic front? What was your favorite part or the most surprising part for you?
Well, I think we may actually disagree with this part, because you were wondering why Intel CEO was at the State of the Union. I thought it was fantastic that the president's talking about the $20 billion investment in Ohio, the revival of Ohio manufacturing, semiconductor manufacturing. Now, maybe you should have had workers from Ohio there in addition, but that part, I love that part of the president's speech.
Yeah, let's play the bit where I think we have the clip. I think we can play the clip where Biden points to the gallery and asks the chamber to cheer a corporate CEO. Let's play that clip if we have it.
It's so important to pass the Bipartisan Innovation Act sitting in Congress that will make record investments in emerging technologies and American manufacturing. Let's pass the Paycheck Fairness Act and paid leave. Let's pass the PRO Act. Pass my budget and keep our neighborhoods safe. I'm going to soon send a request to Congress to pass proven measures to reduce gun violence. Pass universal background checks. Repeal the liability shield. I call on Congress to fund what I call
Congressman, you may have noticed that wasn't the right clip. We'll find the right clip, but let me ask you a serious question. He asked the crowd to cheer the Intel CEO who was in the gallery because he's going to be pledging investment. You're the congressman from Silicon Valley. Was that the right thing to do?
Yes. Look, I'm an FDR Democrat, and the FDR Democrats believe in public-private partnership for production. And yes, it's good that we have Intel saying we're going to produce semiconductors in the United States. I'm a supporter of the CHIPS Act, which does provide economic grants and incentives to companies to manufacture in the United States. Now, does that mean that all CEOs, that we ought to give them a pass? Absolutely not. I've called for higher corporate taxes. I've called for a wealth tax. But when a CEO, and I know Pat Gelsinger, when he is committed to making decisions to invest in the United States, he should be recognized.
Let me ask you this. We played the wrong clip. Let's play it in the right place now. That clip I was about to play, I'm going to play it again, because if there was one consistent theme that Joe Biden hammered home last night, it was him asking Congress to get stuff done. Have a listen. Didn't want to play it. We played it, and now I want to play it. We're having an issue. But the point that I want to make to you is that Joe Biden, again and again last night, said, pass the PRO Act, pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, pass this bill, pass that bill. which is great, but we all know none of those bills are going to get passed because there's something called the filibuster in the Senate, which has prevented them from being passed. So wasn't that a lot of empty rhetoric?
Well, he called first for the passing of the Competes Act, and that will pass. And that's a massive investment, $200 billion in science to technology development and production and manufacturing across America. The other thing he talked about is individual parts of Build Back Better. I think he signaled that he's open to a different framework. You had Senator Manchin today saying he's open to climate investments linked to tax revenue increases on the wealthy and also savings for prescription drugs. And I think that's an outline of a deal that can pass. Voting rights, I'm very passionate about. I think it needs to be done without the filibuster, but I agree with you. That's a heavy lift.
It's a heavy lift, and when you just say pass it, and I think we mentioned earlier in the show, when you spend 70 words out of 6,500 words of your speech saying, hey, everybody should pass the John Lewis Act and the Freedom to Vote. Well, they tried, and they failed because of the damn filibuster and Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. So right now, there is still an existential threat to our democracy.
Yes, I mean, Mehdi, I'm not going to sugarcoat the Voting Rights Act and think that we can do it without repealing the filibuster. But there's a lot else to the president's agenda, passing the opioids crisis legislation, passing the cancer moonshot. And what is frustrating is that there are areas like that where actually there is no ideological disagreement, but still the Congress seems dysfunctional because of total partisanship or because of turf warfare. And so I think the president's point was there are a lot of things short of the big things that we can agree on. Let's at least pass those.
Congressman Khanna, thank you so much for joining me this evening.